We are live.
Hello, everybody. How's it going, Rachel?
It's very good. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing well. Hello, everybody. Give us your howdy ho in the chat screen, and
Yeah, it's a big night tonight. It's the second. It's the last Thursday before Thanksgiving. It's the last Supernatural ever tonight. So we are competing with that apparently. 15 years that TV show's been on the air.
that's crazy. I used to
Yeah.
watch that back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have watched at least some of it, but there are
Yeah,
ardent fans who have been with
yeah,
it for a decade and a half.
yeah.
So,
The one of the stars, I can't remember his name. His sister went to UT Dallas, where I was the dean. So
oh, cool.
yeah, he was from the area where we were located, so it was
All
pretty cool.
right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, oh, we got people from all over the place.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, how are you? Good to see you guys.
I
We're
was
gonna
watching on YouTube. Oh, yeah.
we'll get started, and got a lot to cover tonight. So
Yeah. So, sorry again about last week. Sometimes
yes, it
life
was
happens.
it was all my fault, and
Oh, well, I wasn't going to get into
no,
the of detail. I was just going to
I
say,
was. I'll own it. I'll own it. It was my fault.
as future doctors, you guys understand that sometimes there are family emergencies.
Yes, absolutely.
So we wanted to let Scott put his family first. So
Yeah.
that's why last week was off. But we had been thinking about consolidating this from 7 to 6 weeks anyway. So that solved that question.
Yep.
So tonight we
Yep.
are going to do growth orientation as we planned, but we'll also do a summation tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna do a wrap up.
So we'll get our full good session that you wanted and a wrap up. And as always, we'll want to do questions and answers. So at any point throughout, you can comment. You guys are all spread out, so sometimes I think in any one group it seems like there's only a few, but some of you are watching from Facebook, some of you are watching from YouTube, some of you are watching from the private map group. But we'll see questions from all those places and either answer them as we go or definitely at the end. I'll be keeping an eye on all of that. And for anyone who's new or forgotten,
Yep.
this fellow right here,
Hello.
James Scott Wright.
Hello.
Sometimes I
Hello.
say
Hello.
Dr. Scott, but it's Scott or Dr. Wright.
No,
We don't need
it's just me.
it
It's
doesn't
just
need to be a
me.
Dr. Phil kind of situation. So this guy who's going to be leading our session tonight, just to give you guys a little background, is currently the vice president of academic advising here at MAPT, but before that was the executive director of TMDSAS. So, overseeing thousands of med and dent applications every year in Texas.
Yep.
Also served as UT Southwestern director of admissions, and dean of undergraduate, and the director of pre-health at UT Dallas. So what's really cool about having Scott here and on our team is whether it's helping pre-meds get in or screening the applicants or serving as a liaison between the applicants and the med schools, he's done it all.
Done it all. I've been there. I'm old. That translate that, it means I'm old.
Means you're seasoned.
Seasoned or mature. I'm mature. I like that.
You're in your full summer.
There you go. There you go. I love. So I noticed on here that I think it's Aya is from Rancho Cucamonga. I've never heard of Rancho Cucamonga.
I'm guessing
I have no idea
California.
where that is. It sounds like a super interesting place, though. So
sounds like a California town to me.
It does to me too. So kudos to you, Aya from Rancho Cucamonga. And I love seeing that. I love seeing Texas people here. We have Joel from San Antonio and I guess that's from Dallas. So awesome. Wichita, Kansas. Cool.
Got Chris from Tennessee. Kenyon's here. Yep. Hi, Kenyon. Not used to seeing you outside of the pre-med hangout. All right. Well, I'm going to hop off screen a little bit just to make more real estate for Scott. But I'll be here. I'll be moderating questions and comments as we go, and I'll definitely see you guys at the end when we do the live Q&A.
Cool. Well, welcome everybody. It's so wonderful to be here, and again, just sorry about last week. I'm glad that everything's cool this week, and so we're gonna hop right into this, and we're gonna talk a little bit about growth and how important growth is. This is probably one of the key ones that sort of ties it all together in a lot of ways. And so, as you may recall, or for those of you that are new this week, the Association of American Medical Colleges, about 10 years ago, developed, with the help of a lot of different people, what they consider groups of competencies that students should have. One of those groups of competencies are the pre-professional competencies. In other words, personal traits, competencies that you should have upon entering medical school. So these are their expectations for students coming into medical school. And these are them, 9 intra and interpersonal traits that they're looking for in their applicants. A service orientation, social skills, cultural competence, teamwork, oral communication skills, an ethical responsibility both to yourself and to others around you, reliability and dependability, resilience and adaptability, and then the capacity for improvement. And as we've discussed a lot this over the past 6 weeks or so, is that these all, you can have one experience that really hits on a variety of these. And what we are doing in this series on personal traits that med schools want to see is we're correlating all these together to say, what do you look like? What is the trait that you should look like? And how does it correlate to these competencies that the AAMC has identified? So I took these and I boiled them all down to 6 personal traits. And the 6 personal traits that we really have been talking about, the first was altruism, humility, self-awareness, autonomy, and then our last time together, we talked about accountability. And tonight we're going to talk about growth orientation. And as I said previously, this is where we really focus in on what this means to you. And this growth orientation trait really addresses in many ways all of the others combined together. If you don't have this one, growth orientation, as a personal trait, then it may not be very likely that any of the other 5 are going to be well developed in you as an applicant. So I really want you to kind of pay attention tonight, not that you don't always, but I really want you to focus in on this, and let's talk about growth orientation and what that really means. So growth, and these are words that we understand. A growth orientation, we understand what growth means, but I want to just sort of talk about this in a real kind of way. And growth really is in these terms, it's really about seeking opportunities. And I want to really emphasize seeking opportunities. It's one thing to sort of let opportunities come to you, and we do that sometimes. But what we're talking about here is seeking opportunities for improvement, to improve myself as an individual. And we can really say that this trait, the growth orientation trait, really addresses and hits on for everybody. If we all as human beings had this orientation, this idea of growth in our lives, we'd have a much different world around us. But this is about seeking opportunities for improvement and receiving criticism. Now, that's a hard part, receiving criticism from a growth standpoint. So we all get criticism, sometimes from our peers. We certainly get it from our faculty, the professors in class and stuff. We get criticism, and how we receive that criticism it really affects a lot in terms of what we're going to make out of it. So receiving criticism from a growth standpoint. Now, this is a concept that's related to personal development in general, and it really addresses some of these key areas. And we talked several weeks ago about awareness, and so this is about seeking activities that improve our personal awareness and essentially our identity, who we are as individuals. Now we've all been around people who don't really get it, who don't really see the ideas that there are, a variety of things around us, and we have to seek out opportunities that improve our awareness of others around us, of their they're individuals, that they have feelings and emotions and thoughts, and they have a lot of things to offer, but we have to improve how we're aware of those things about others around us and about ourselves and how we're coming across. That's known in the world of psychology as emotional awareness, emotional intelligence. So activities that improve awareness, and it develops our talents. This idea of personal development develops our talents. This is part of why med schools have you go through all of the different clinical types of medicine to improve your awareness, to improve and develop talents. So as an individual, you may not have talents that are going to lead you into a surgical field, but you may have great talents that are going to be excellently used in the field of primary care, of family medicine, or of pediatrics, or et cetera. You may not be the greatest bedside manner kind of person, but you are great in the lab, and that's a talent that you have. This is all about, we like to think that doctors graduate from medical school and they immediately have a job, and many of them do. But this is also the idea of self-improvement is also going to build on your employability. Maybe you want to work in a specific hospital, or maybe you want to work at a specific in a specific clinic, or a group of physicians, or whatever. Personal improvement, personal development is going to help you be employable. It's going to enhance your quality of life. This is something that I think is really crucial to us enjoying. There are so many enjoying our work. There are so many doctors out there right now, and I don't say this to provide kind of a downer, but there are doctors out there. You've interacted probably with some of them. As you have shadowed them, or as you have interacted with them in clinical settings, who will say to you as a pre-med student, you shouldn't do it. I would never do it again. I would never go down this road again. I'm unhappy. And I think part of that is this idea that they're not developing themselves as individuals, as human beings. It also, this concept of personal development really does contribute to the realization of what it is you're here to do, to dream and to realize that dream. And so I want you to connect with the idea of personal improvement, of personal evaluation. What can I do today that is going to improve my life and improve the lives of people around me? Now, there's a wonderful popular example of this. Now, I'm interested to know how many of you have ever seen the movie Groundhog Day. This is a great movie from the late, I guess, mid to late 1980s, and it is it's such a wonderful film. It starred Bill Murray, who I think is just a wonderful comedian and actor. And if you haven't seen this, movie, the premise of the movie is Bill Murray is a news reporter who is totally dissatisfied with his life. He's a crusty guy. He just is not happy at all. And he is sent out to this little town where Puxatawny Phil comes out every year, and the whole Groundhog Day thing. And what happens is Bill Murray gets caught in this cycle where he relives the same day over and over and over and over again. And at first, he's furious about it. He's frustrated, and it goes on and on and on and on. And so, but then gradually he begins to recognize this is an opportunity for me to grow. So he goes through this cycle of living the same day over and over again. He learns the piano. He learns how to speak different languages. He knows what's going to happen. So he starts helping out with various things. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to show you a short clip from Groundhog Day. And I want you, and after it's over, it's about 2 minutes long. And so after it's over, we'll talk a little bit more about the scenario and how this applies to growth orientation. So hopefully this will work.
When Chekhov saw the long winter, he saw a winter bleak and dark and bereft of hope. Yet we know that winter is just another step in the cycle of life. But standing here among the people of Punxsutawney and basking in the warmth of their hearths and hearts, I couldn't imagine a better fate than a long and lustrous winter. From Punxsutawney, it's Phil Connors. So long. Nice speech, Phil. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thanks. How was that for you, too?
Hey, man, you touch me.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
I gotta go. Okay?
Phil, that was surprising. I didn't know you were so versatile.
I surprise myself sometimes.
Well, where are you going? Would you like to get a cup of coffee?
I'd love to. Can I have a rain check? I've got some errands I've got to run. Okay?
Phil, errands? What errands? I thought we were going back.
What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? You little brat. You have never thanked me. I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe.
You totaled it.
No.
It was only a flat tire.
Well,
I'm
how
just
are we
gonna
gonna
get
get
some
down?
Oh, it's an earthquake. Oh, it's not an earthquake. Oh, what is it?
Oh, thank you, young man.
It's nothing, ma'am. I had the tire and the jack. Just be comfortable, all right? Give me a minute.
Who's that?
Must be from the motor club.
That is awesome. So,
When Chekhov saw the
so hopefully you connect with that a little bit. And what I'd like to say about Groundhog Day, if you haven't seen Groundhog Day, you gotta see this movie. It's kind of turned into a cult classic a little bit, and it's just a really wonderful movie that I think it'd be great for you to watch. And it's just the idea of this growth that he goes through. So by the end of the movie, without spoiling it too much, well, I am going to spoil it. He becomes a whole different guy because he has grown and he's seen the impact that people can have on others around them. So what are the attributes then of this sort of growth orientation? And these are really crucial, I think. You continuously strive for personal improvement. Continuously striving. I want to make myself a better person today than I was yesterday. Whatever that might mean. Maybe it's just a smile to someone at Starbucks. Maybe it's a thank you to the professor as they leave the classroom for teaching you that day. And speaking of teaching, it's about being teachable. Now, we all know people in our lives who are not teachable, who do not accept feedback. They're defensive constantly. And but growth orientation requires having a teachable spirit about you, being able to come about and accept when there's feedback, even if it's negative feedback. Growth requires us to be flexible. Things don't always go the way we expect them to go. I mean, we were testing that video clip earlier, just a few minutes before we went live, and it could have gone haywire or something. Who knows? We seek wisdom before we act. Seeking out wisdom. This is where it's crucial, I think, within a growth orientation, to seek out people who know things, who are wiser and maybe more mature than you are, to say, what do you think about this? Sometimes that means we go to mom or dad. Sometimes it's it's older colleagues or peers of ours that have been through a situation before. Maybe it's our advisor at our institution or a professor that we can seek wisdom from before we act, make decisions or whatever. Growth orientation is also about embracing challenges. And I want to really emphasize this one, embracing challenges. It is about, life is about challenges. If there are no challenges, there is no growth. If there are no challenges, there is no growth. So don't see challenges as a barrier to fulfilling yourself or fulfilling your dreams. It's a very important idea within the concept of personal growth, is embracing these challenges and moving beyond them and allowing them to make us into who we are. What are these things? How do these things translate into real behaviors? And I'll give you 2 or 3 examples here of how these translate into behaviors. So, for example, built into your coursework at your institution are elective credits. And I frequently hear from students that, I had some electives and I just took, I tried to find the easiest thing. I tried to find an easy class so I could keep my grades high or whatever. So, but see this as an opportunity to take some interesting classes for personal, to grow, for personal gain. Maybe you take a philosophy course, or maybe you take a course in art history, or a course in Renaissance, sculpture, or I don't know, whatever. This is an opportunity for personal growth, for personal gain, to make yourself a more interesting person. You seek ongoing guidance from your advisors at your institution, whether that's a pre-med advisor or an academic advisor. Maybe it's a counselor. Most institutions have counseling available for their students, and maybe you're going through a tough time, and so you go to the counseling center at your institution, and you reach out and you say, I just need to talk to somebody. Another related behavior here is don't freak out when things don't go the way that you thought they would or that you thought they should. You don't freak out. Now, we all know people, especially this happens a lot in teamwork type of situations, where you have this sort of type A person and they're just like all on top of everything, and something goes wrong, and all of a sudden they're like on the edge about to jump off the cliff because they can't deal with a situation that is going other than how they had anticipated it to go. But again, this is a challenge. We embrace the challenge to say, I'm going to grow through this. Now, I deal with this a lot when I talk to students who apply to medical school and do not get in. And so they are suddenly faced with a situation where they are a reapplicant. They're freaking out. And I understand it. I understand completely why they're freaking out. But they are trying to figure out, what do I do now? And what I have often said to students is, okay, so you're being a gap year is being enforced upon you. This equals a challenge. How are you going to respond to that challenge? How are you going to respond when, if that happens to you? And I knew one student years ago who, in that gap year, he didn't get in to medical school. In that gap year, he took a research job and was working in a lab. He ended up meeting what became his bride in that research lab. So the situation there was, had that gap year not happened for him, had that challenge not occurred, he would have missed this special opportunity to meet someone that ultimately became his wife. So now, I'm not saying that this is always going to happen or whatever, but I am saying we embrace it. We say, how am I going to grow through this challenge without freaking out? And how am I going to see this as an opportunity for me to improve who I am as an individual? And how am I going to embrace opportunities that happen because of the challenge? So keep those things in mind as you go through this idea of growth as a potential time to really improve yourself. Now, how does this correlate to some of the AAMC competencies? There are a variety here, two specifically that I would like to mention in terms of these correlations. One is this definitely deals with resilience and adaptability. The core competency says that you need to, as a pre-med student, be able to demonstrate tolerance of stressful or changing environments or situations. This is the definition of medicine: changing environments or situation, and then you got to adapt effectively to them. Now, obviously, some medical specialties are more like this than others, but it is important to recognize that medicine is ever changing and it can be very stressful. If you're not able to be tolerant of that stress or these ongoing changing situations, then maybe medicine isn't appropriate for you. Resilience and adaptability. Are you persistent even under difficult situations, such as being a reapplicant, such as not getting in and having to persevere in the face of this challenge? You also recover from setbacks. You know, you had a plan set out. You had a plan set out where you were going to you had a timetable set up, and something happens. Maybe you take the MCAT and the score is not what you wanted, and it sets your timetable awry, and you have to sort of figure out, okay, how do I adjust here? How do I recover from this setback and move forward and grow through it? Many medical schools in their secondary applications ask about these very things, about give us an example of something that has happened in your life that shows resilience or forced you to be adaptable. These are really crucial kinds of things that we have to recognize. The second one that I really thought, and this one's obvious, is in terms of correlation to the AAMC core competencies. The second one is the capacity for improvement. They are directly asking you to be able to set goals that have, as a result of them, continuously improving, and from learning from new concepts, new skills that you have to learn in an ongoing way, that you engage in reflective practice for improvement. I cannot emphasize enough how important reflection is in the life of a pre-med student. Reflecting on a classroom situation, reflecting on something that happened in a clinical setting where you saw something occur. What did that mean to you? This is where we get from the what I like to say is the what to the so what. I saw this event happen at the clinic when I was shadowing today. What does that mean to me? Yes, I was there at the clinic, but now I have to say, so what? What does that mean? I have to create meaning out of that. And as I've said several times, we solicit and respond to feedback. You are going to get feedback from from residents when you're in medical school. You're going to get feedback from residents. You're going to get feedback from attending physicians. And you have to be able to appropriately respond to that feedback in not a defensive way, but and then also, and I like this first word on this point, is that you solicit feedback. You say to your attending, you say to your resident, how can I improve? What could I have done better in that situation? Help me out. Now, this is really a
Hey guys, seem to have a little technical difficulty. Looks like we lost Scott's audio. Scott, I think you're muted if you, yeah.
I don't understand why it does that sometimes.
Goes to the machine.
All the machine.
Yeah, back up 3 or 4 sentences and you'll be good.
Okay, so basically what I was saying is this is very relevant to a professionally in the life of medicine and of caregivers. And so in the next slide, it really shows us how that is relevant, how these are important. As you probably know already, physicians, along with a variety of other healthcare providers, are really have to go through what's called CME, continuing medical education. So you go from undergraduate medical education, that's med school, to graduate medical education, that is residency, to continuing medical education, that is CME. So you have to have a certain number of CME credits over the course of your entire career. And in the course of these, there is feedback necessary, and feedback is given to you in these CME credit program type of things. And these are important because the pace of change in medicine is incredible. Medicine is changing monthly, if not daily. We're seeing this played out right in front of us with the COVID pandemic. The pace of change of medicine is happening, and we, as physicians, you will have to be prepared for that. It also helps you improve as a caregiver, not just scientifically, but also in terms of your ability to care for individuals in a real kind of way. So, as I've done every week, I always select a painting, a piece of artwork that represents this particular attribute. And this is one of my favorite ones. This is Tree and Flower by Claude Monet. And Monet is one of my favorite painters. And this tree and flower just really represents to me growth. And what we know about nature is nature goes through purging as well as growth, that the two are important to each other and necessary. Outside my window of my apartment, I have a lot of trees, and they're losing their leaves right now because it's fall, and they're going through that process of purging, that process of input and productivity that will flower in the spring and to have trees that look like this. I love the various seasons. We don't see a whole lot of the seasons here in Austin, Texas, but we do see some of it. It's very quick. That tree outside my window lost its leaves in the course of about 3 days. And so the fall, the autumn each year is pretty short. But I love this image of this tree in flower. It's a beautiful painting, and I really love that as representation of growth that happens. Now, let me just wrap all of this up in this way. What we've gone through are these 6 personal traits that medical schools really want to see in their applicants, certainly in the new students that they bring into their institution. They want to see altruism. They want to see that you're altruistic. In other words, that you're patient focused, that you're others oriented. They want to see humility, that you're not ego driven. They want to see self-awareness. In other words, that you're realistic about your strengths and your weaknesses. And that they want to see autonomy. In other words, that you're an independent thinker and that you can think about what's going on around you and that you become a leader in that regard. They want to see accountability, that you're a responsible person, that you would take responsibility for your own actions. And finally, as we've covered tonight, they want to see this growth orientation that means you're teachable. Can you see how this one, growth orientation, really affects all of the others? If you're not teachable, you're not going to be patient focused. You're going to be ego driven. You're not going to be realistic, independent, or responsible if you're not teachable. This is the crucial point of all the others. Be a teachable person. Be somebody who accepts feedback and grows as a result of that feedback. Sometimes the feedback is critical. Sometimes it's affirming. But nonetheless, you have to accept that feedback and grow from it. And this is what requires reflection. I encountered a quote this week, and I want to read it to y'all. I didn't put it on the slide, but I put it on my Facebook page, and I'm going to read you this quote. It's from a show on television that I absolutely love, and this show is called Call the Midwife. It's a British drama, and here's the quote: "The thing that matters is never the thing itself, but rather what we make of it, what we do with our patience and our imagination." In other words, listen again. The thing that matters is never the thing itself, but rather what we make of it. And I try to really talk to you guys often about meaning and building meaning and creating value of what you're going through. This is about growing. This is about reflecting on what's happening in front of you, what's happening to you, what's happening around you, reflecting on those events, reflecting on those people as they talk or as they interact with you, and then growing as a result of that. It's not about the thing. It's about what we make out of the thing. So kudos to you guys for sticking this out and for being with us here. I hope that this has been meaningful to you. I'm anxious to hear if you have any thoughts or questions about this particular point of growth orientation. Any comments that you might have or questions that I'd love to respond. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you think about this. Is growth important, do you think? Is growth important as a student at your institution? In situations that you've been in with peers and teams and stuff, have you really had a lot of these kinds of things go on? So let's have some dialogue here for just a few minutes. So I guess it's Elisa. Elisa, what if we want to go towards a field, but we aren't talented in it? How do we know we are talented in something now as a pre-med? You're not going to know really that. That's what med school is all about. 75%, the last statistic I saw was 75% of students in medical school change their mind during medical school is what they want to do when they get out of medical school. In other words, you may come into medical school, into medical training, thinking, I'm going to be a surgeon. I've always wanted to be a surgeon. I was dissecting frogs back on the sidewalk when I was 7 years old and blah, 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 whatever. But you may leave med school as a psychiatrist. You never quite know. That's the reason that they put you through the various rotations in medical school, is to be able to see what you're talented at, what connects with you. So as a pre-med, you're really not going to know. You may have some ideas, and you may go for that. You don't know, but it's all about really finding out what you are talented in, and what's going to connect with you as a person, as a student, and for a career of 30, 40, 50 years that you will go through as a physician. So yeah. So here's one from Lauren. How much do med schools account for the further growth during med school? My top school values lots of community service. I have lots of separate volunteer activities, but I haven't found the one. Yeah, that's a good question. And I would say that, that this is where we get into the so what rather than the what. The what is volunteer experiences, etc. The so what is what you make out of it, is how you think about it. And this is what I think med schools are looking for. And now, community service, great. And if you already know that a particular med school is top on your list and they value community service, then definitely getting involved with community service around you. But you've got to experiment with those. Community service is a big, that's a big topic there. There's a lot of different things that fit into community service, and so this sort of idea of community service. So I would say, having these things that you're trying out, this is where you experiment and where you see until you find the one. But as you go along, you're reflecting. Why didn't I connect with that? What was it about that just didn't feel right to me? This is where reflection becomes really very important. Aya says, in what ways do you think we should practice measuring our own growth in addition to self-reflection? I think self-reflection is super important, but I think also this is where it becomes valuable to have people around you that you can really bounce things off of. Good friends, advisors, even professors, faculty members who you know well enough that you can go to them and say, hey, I just didn't get that, or I think I reacted poorly to that situation. Can you give me some input? How can I grow through this? So I think having a cadre of people around you that you trust and that you value their opinion is really important to that, in addition to sort of self-reflection. Would you suggest oh yes, love this. Would you suggest getting a mentor who can help provide this feedback for growth during this process? Absolutely. Mentorship is super important. Now, sometimes it's hard to find a good mentor, but I think reaching out to people around you, like a faculty member or an advisor, or it could be a family friend or even a family member who can mentor you. In this case, maybe it's a physician who you've known, could be your personal physician, that you can say, I'm going through this. Can we meet once a month for 30 minutes over coffee and just let me bounce things off of you? It's mentorship often comes because you initiate it, because you go to the person and say, I need a mentor. Will you help me with this? Will you help me do this? I think mentorship can be an incredibly valuable experience. And if you haven't had a mentor before, this is where, such great wisdom can come from. And a mentor doesn't necessarily, I think it often is someone older than you, more mature, who has been through situations before. It doesn't always have to be that way, but I think it's often that way. That it's somebody that's older, more mature, wiser, perhaps. Let's see, where's another one? These are great questions and comments. I love these. Yeah, I like Rennie's comment here. I used to avoid anything challenging because I hated how incompetent it made me feel. I realized my mindset and approach to challenges was stunting my growth. Love that comment. Absolutely love that. We often have what's called imposter syndrome, and this is where we feel basically incompetent. We feel like I shouldn't be here. Most medical students experience this in the first weeks and months of medical school, where they think, surely the med school made a mistake. They meant to choose somebody else. They chose me instead. And here I am. And I'm in this midst of these brilliant people around me, and I'm completely incompetent. And but you face those challenges with a mindset that says, I'm going to go through this and I'm going to grow. And that's a great comment, Rennie. Thank you for that. These are wonderful comments, by the way. Thank you. Everyone needs a teacher, a student, and a friend. Wow, that's a great one. I love that, Chris. Thank you. Everyone needs a teacher. That's the mentor. A student, because we often learn more when we teach than when we are the learner. We often learn more as the teacher. So we need to find a teacher, a student, and a friend. That's a wonderful quote. I might use that in the future. I love that. This is great because of the trees. Yeah. I just want to say to you guys that have stuck through this over the course of the last several, the last 6 weeks or so, this has been wonderful for me. Thank you for participating in this and for going through these. I hope that this has been meaningful. I'd like some feedback. If you can, if you can message me, email me, scott@map.com. Scott@map.com is my email. Email me. I'd love to hear your further comments about this. I'm thinking about pondering, really toying with the idea of putting all this into a sort of a, I hesitate to say a self-help book, but a book for pre-meds that really kind of helps them to sort of evaluate some of these things, and has some exercises in it. And it's, on some of these it says, hey, go and read this book, or hey, watch this particular movie and think about how this movie relates to what we're talking about in terms of altruism or humility or whatever. And so I'd be interested to hear from some of you guys if that's something that, if it's a pretty easy read and stuff, is it something that you would be comfortable reading, or maybe doing as a group thing at your institution, or whatever. I don't know, but I'd be interested to hear kind of what your thoughts are about that, if that was something that you might find valuable or whatever. So, but yeah, so thank you, and thank you, Calvin, for I appreciate your saying that I was your mentor in this. That's real sweet. I really appreciate that. So Rachel, we've made it through the gauntlet. We have.
I wanted to quickly just remind everybody. We'll do some more question and answer. We still have a few minutes, but I wanted to remind everybody while we're all still on that. Sorry, Calvin, I'm going to hide your comment. That we do offer one-on-one advising, and this gets at one of the questions that Rennie had asked, which is, can Dr. Scott provide guidance for students trying to get into Texas medical schools?
Absolutely.
The answer is yes. If you have a specific question, answer it here, and if it's something we can answer in 2 or 3 minutes, we will. If you're more saying, I'd really like to work with him as a private advisor, that is something that we offer. So I think what MAPT is probably most well known for is the software solution, right? So low cost subscription that you can buy for monthly or annually, that'll track all your information. It helps you calculate your GPAs the way that the application services do, which isn't the same as your transcript. Will ask you to reflect on your activities and competencies, which might feel somewhat familiar to you if you've been attending these sessions. Will help you research medical schools. And there is a feature that we're building right now. So some of you guys I know who are listening are active MAPT users, and we're beta testing built-in feedback, so that although it isn't within the software solution, it won't be one-on-one, but you are getting expert advice from Dr. Scott Wright, Dr. Ryan Gray, and myself. So all of us, with our years and years, decades, because we're old, of experience, that's going to be built into the system. in an automated but personalized way.
Yeah.
And then there is also a live weekly Q&A we do that's exclusive to Mapped members. So just by
Yep.
paying the monthly or yearly subscription, you get a lot of help. But if you've got the funds and you're looking for a one-on-one kind of scenario, that is something we do as well. And I'll hide and I'll add. So I've got it up on it's on the slide for just map.com is where you can sign up for Mapped and get the free trial, or you can go to map.com services if you specifically want to check out the one-on-one options. And then
I love doing that. It's awesome to work with you guys over the course of your process, or maybe it's just a single session where you just got questions and you need some guidance and stuff, or maybe it's interview feedback or interview prep, and we can definitely do any of those, and it's a lot of fun. I had a couple of those today, and it's just wonderful to work with you guys. You're all just so on top of things, and me being able to help you with all that is so exciting.
Yeah. So a couple questions here. Where can we seek interview prep from? So Scott, I know sometimes there's like a 10-second delay on when I'm talking and when a question comes in. But so interview prep is one of the one-on-one services that we offer. So same thing, if you go to map.com/services, there's general advising. So for any time in the pre-med process, there's advising specific to the application cycle. There's essay feedback, and you can divide that as, do you want for personal statement and activities? Do you want secondaries? And then there's also mock interview prep. And we're definitely still taking those for people in this cycle. And I know it can be really time sensitive. I know sometimes you don't always want to make the investment until you have an interview. So for people who need to turn it around quickly, that is usually something we can accommodate.
For sure.
And what I would say is, if you know for sure, if you feel very confident you're getting an interview, you just don't know when, which I know isn't always the case, but sometimes you've kind of got that insight. I think that you get a better interview prep experience, and that's whether you pay for it with us or just do it on your own with a mirror and a recorder. If you can do it several weeks out, right? Because what you want to do is do some practice, tape yourself, watch yourself, which I know is so excruciating, but you got to do it. Have some reflection and then do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rennie says we're not old. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Rennie. I love you.
I'm middle-aged. There are people who are older than me who don't think they're middle-aged, but here's the deal. If I triple my age, that's not realistic. Therefore, I'm about in the middle of my life.
Well, I plan to live until I'm 120, so I'm definitely just on the beginning stages. I'm still on the uphill, going up the hill. I'm not coming down that hill yet.
Let's see. RL says, this is good. I'm having some trouble choosing between attending medical school or pathology assistant school. I'm worried that if I choose PA, then I will never feel fulfilled not becoming a doctor. Yeah. So I definitely want to hear what Scott has to say about this, but in my mind, this is part of where clinical and shadowing comes in.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. I think if you, and my feeling is, if you have that worry, then you need to pay attention to that worry. You have to sort of listen to yourself, listen to your intuition. What I like to say, your gut, you listen to your gut, or your heart, however you want to sort of characterize it. And you have to listen to that, because the last thing you want to have happen is to go through a whole program to be a pathology assistant or whatever you're thinking about. And then you do it for 3 or 4 years, and then you're totally dissatisfied, and you're like 20 years from now, and you're wishing, I wish I'd tried, or I wish I'd gone down that road, or I short-sighted myself, or whatever. So I think you got to listen to your heart on that. But I completely agree with what Rachel said in terms of, this is where shadowing and clinical experience become really important, because it gives you an idea of what you're going to be getting into and what that daily life looks like. And if that's not satisfying for you, then maybe that's a signal.
Yeah, it actually hinges nicely on a question that got asked 10 minutes or so ago that I think we're transitioning slides and I missed. So Lauren says, I'm the type of person who can get really interested in pretty much anything I'm working on. That's a nice quality. You name it, I can get passionate about it. I haven't found a specialty I didn't like. How do I frame this?
Yeah, and this happens sometimes. And the student affairs offices at the medical schools, this is part of what they do, is help you think through this, because there are things that are related to medicine, related to the activities of the specialty, such as, for example, lifestyle. If you are wanting to have a good family life and you're wanting to have free time and you really want to have an 8 to 5 sort of go at your career, then anesthesiology is probably not the right one for you, or surgical specialty may not be the right one for you. But if you're, love the excitement, and they're going to help you think through that. So don't think that coming into medical school, you have to have this whole bag of talents to be able to figure out. They're going to assist you in a lot of ways. And there are many students who say, I really like X, Y, and Z. I'm tending toward X, but I'm still not sure. And this is part of what, as I said before, 3rd and 4th year medical school, this is what it's all about, is getting you used to these things and figuring out what really clicks with you, both professionally and personally.
Right. Yeah. And she clarified, Lauren did, that she's worried about how it's going to seem on the app. And hopefully Scott's answer kind of gets at the heart of that. You are not expected to know when you apply.
No.
And in fact, having an inkling is fine, but applicants who think they know and are dead set on it, that's not necessarily considered a good thing.
Yes,
I mean,
agreed.
So kind of, if you synthesize the stuff we've said tonight, Scott said part of 3rd and 4th year, a lot of what 3rd and 4th year is about is giving you exposure to those things. He said 75% of students, the last time there was a third-party study, changed their minds. So this gets into what we were talking before about humility and growth orientation. It is normal and expected to go in knowing you can know you want to be a doctor. You can have an idea of specialties that interest you, but you are not expected and really not supposed to know for sure what it is you're doing yet. So all of the questions around your application are, why do you want to be a doctor? They aren't, what kind of doctor do you want to be? That's not what's happening at the application to med school moment.
Yeah. Agreed.
So hopefully that helps, Lauren.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Let's see, here's another one. It's kind of long. Alyssa says, so with doctors having to go through standard procedures that might not be as productive, but need to do in order to cover their licenses, how is a doctor able to balance wanting to do the right treatment, but still doing other treatments that might cost the patient more money?
Oh, wow.
I might need a med school to answer this one.
I know, right? I don't know if I can answer this question. That's a tough one. That is a tough. How is a doctor able to balance wanting to do the right treatment, but still? Yeah, I mean, I will say, honestly, I have no idea how to answer this question. I'm sorry.
I think that's an amazing question to take to shadowing.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I guess this is part of our humility, right? We are absolutely experts in helping people get into medical school, but neither Scott or I are practicing doctors. So I would not want to hazard a guess here.
That's right.
I do think you are getting at the heart of a problem that is a common, right? And I mean, I certainly, just as a patient, have had times where I knew what I wanted to do and my doctor and I agreed and my insurance didn't agree. And that was real frustrating. So I think there is some navigation to be had there, but I would say that's a great thing to take to whether you're doing live shadowing right now,
to a mentor,
or to virtual shadowing, because right now virtual shadowing is kind of, for many of us, that's all we have right now.
Yep, definitely.
Let's see. Kenyon says,
yeah, I like this one.
Add on to the
go ahead.
Kenyon says, to add on to the last part of that question, I'm wondering if some of your clinical exposure is wrapped up with one type of specialty. Can that be seen as a negative?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it can be seen as a negative, but I definitely think that it's a positive when you have a broadness of experience. If all of your shadowing or clinical experience is just one thing, then you've only seen a little bit of what medicine is really all about. And so I think getting a variety of exposure to medicine, it really does benefit an application. I don't know that it would be a negative, particularly in this current circumstances where it's hard to get these types of exposure. But I definitely think that it would be a positive and advantageous for you to try to get a variety of experiences.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Good question from Chris. So Chris, who I believe is non-traditional, so
yes,
he may be asking this question, hopefully, says, I feel like it might be easier to see these 6 competencies in students who have more life experience. And then asks, do we agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think that in general, I would somewhat agree with that, but I would say that over my lifetime, I have, and really what we're talking about with these six personal traits we're talking about maturity. This is about being a mature individual. And these traits are traits of a mature person. And I have known 70-year-old men or women who are completely immature as individuals. And I have known 10-year-old kids who are unbelievably mature. And I think that it's because of things that they experience that affects that. And so absolutely, right. I agree with that.
Yeah, and in Chris's defense, he did say life experience, not age. So,
correct. That's correct.
Now, sometimes it's easier to get, the more years you've lived, I guess, like, your chances of experience probably go up. But yeah, I completely agree. It's about maturity and connectedness to the world, not about the number.
Absolutely.
And I have the same thing. I mean, I've known 13-year-olds who've just lived a lot of life, and sometimes I feel sorry for them when they've lived that much life that young, but it does usually mean they've got a real high EQ.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I say this with a lot of love because that's part of what we've been talking about with growth orientation. If someone's out there listening or watching and going, I'm maybe worried I don't have these things, they are developable skills, right? All of these attributes are things that you can grow.
That's right.
So you don't have to feel like, oh my God, one more thing to add to my imposter syndrome list.
Right. That's right.
And if you're having that reflection, that already shows some humility. So check.
Yeah,
you got one down.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's. I think we've come to the end of the hour. Rachel?
Yeah, we have. You guys had a lot of questions this week. I really appreciate that.
You did.
I love it when you guys are engaged.
Well, we're going to do, and what I will say is we'll come to the spring and we're going to do another workshop series, probably shorter this time, maybe 3 weeks or so, where we'll have something interesting, not on the same topic, but we'll have something that we'll do probably, I would guess maybe sometime around February or something, but we'll talk about that amongst ourselves and figure out what's the best timing. But so look forward to that. And thank you to all of you who stuck around and who this is a great night. It was a great night for ending everything on. You were super engaged, and I really appreciate that. And thank you, Rachel, for all that you do every week. You're my hero.
I'm an amateur TV production now.
I think you're doing pretty well.
As well as pre-med expert.
That's right.
Yeah, I really appreciate the engagement level from all of you guys too. And just as a reminder, because I know a few of you have commented you've missed, because these were live streams, whether you're watching on YouTube or Mapped, as soon as they're done, they post. So the videos are still there. You can rewatch them. Someone had asked about sharing with your pre-med groups. They're all available for consumption for free on map.tv, so the YouTube or Facebook channels. So feel free to watch again, share. People had asked about the decks. I don't think we share the decks wide, but you can get all of the decks by watching the videos. If someone really needs a slide or something, though, just email us. We can. They're not secrets.
And we put, if you could put my email up one more time, Rachel, that'd be great. Just Scott@map.com. And you can email me. We can easily do that, or whatever. Certainly would love feedback from you guys on anything that any thoughts that you have, and I'd really appreciate that greatly. So
Well, we're
thank
getting
you
lots
so
of thank yous
much.
and comments, so that's
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, you guys are sweet. I really appreciate it. This is really
Take
nice stuff. Take care, everybody.